Yeah, so my name is Jason Skinner. I am the specialty ATP for Indiana, so I cover both the Indy North and Indy South offices. I want to share a story about a 21-year-old young lady named Savannah. She has an incredible story. She has cerebral palsy and virtually no functional movement. Despite those limitations, she is very cognitively intact. She is an absolute delight to be around. She's very happy. She and I share a mutual love for all things Disney, and there's always Disney music going on when I go to see her. So if she's on my calendar, I know it's going to be a really fun work environment for me during those couple of hours. But Sherry, who is Savannah's mother, was at the time pregnant with Savannah. She was a single mother of 4 and was in a near fatal car accident. She was hit on the driver's side of her vehicle by a habitual traffic offender, and not only did she almost die in that accident, but Savannah as well. And they are saying that is likely the cause of her cerebral palsy. At least if you talk to Sherry, who's now become a nurse over this course of time, that's what she truly believes kind of led to these issues. Because otherwise, everything leading up to that point, Savannah they had not had any concerns about her during Sherry's pregnancy. One thing that Sherry mentioned is she was told throughout the early on process of trying to get equipment or get any kind of benefits for Savannah, that she could expect it to take about 15 years for her to actually get a custom wheelchair. At some point, Savannah did qualify for a wheelchair, or she was able to get one through another one of our companies in the area. And Sherry had told me that she didn't feel like the ATP from that company ever really understood or seemed to notice what Savannah's needs were. So they got a chair that they were told, this is what you're going to need, this is how it's going to work, and that was kind of it. They were never really impressed with that company or the service that they got. They just felt like they were another cog in the wheel, and because they had been told early on that it's going to take you 15 years to get a chair, they were just happy with something. We have a therapy partner here that is a home health OT that also does wheelchair evaluations, but she is Savannah's treating therapist, and I've worked with her in the past. Both of our offices have a really good working relationship with this company, and she actually contacted me after a therapy session with Savannah saying she thought it would be a good patient for me to go take a look at. But we went out there, I took a look at Savannah and the equipment, told Mom right off the bat, hey, this was a more involved fitting than I had originally anticipated or kind of budgeted time for, and I wanted to make sure we did it right. So we made arrangements to come back out. I blocked a couple of hours, and we took all the time that was necessary with Savannah. She had some involuntary movements and muscle spasms, so there was a point in time where those kind of ramped up. We just kind of let her relax, and we came back, and again, with having a big time block available, we were able to do this right for her. That really helped on Sherry's end as well, because when her big complaint is that the other company wasn't kind of paying attention to Savannah or caring about her needs, just that little detail of taking some time to walk away, let her kind of get herself back to where she was ready to have us poke and prod and measure and those kinds of things, really says a lot, right? Because it shows that we were there to work with her based on her schedule, not on mine. Savannah has had quite a few mobility challenges and positioning things that we've had to address with the chair. Some of the big ones were a poor fit in the chair that she was given before. The family was using a pillow to make up a leg discrepancy in the seat depth. The other ATP from the company before, they had kind of cobbled together some positioning devices with some pads and harnesses and things like that they had found around the warehouse. So it absolutely, we kind of joked around that it was kind of like a Frankenstein chair. But we had to duplicate some of the stuff that the family thought worked or that they liked on it with, on-chair or real DME level equipment, not just pulling stuff together to see if it works. So we had to do a lot of custom measurements and designs for pads with some of our manufacturers. I believe we had 6 different quotes involved in this order. We also had to deal with some significant scoliosis and some positioning needs there, while also kind of compensating for those involuntary spasms and some of her really uncoordinated movements. In this world, the more restrictive or the more you focus on positioning, it can also be a detriment to some of that movement. So we wanted to allow her the freedom to move so we didn't cause any harm or discomfort to her, but also limit it, if that makes sense, in a way that she wasn't kind of throwing her body out of the chair or out of alignment to be able to still operate the equipment. Sherry also had some things on her list that she wanted to have done with the chair. So we had to make sure that not only were we meeting Savannah's needs, but we were meeting a very outspoken parent in terms of her advocacy for her daughter, because if nobody else spoke up, it wasn't going to get done. So we had that challenge of basically melding the needs of 2 different individuals into one very complex chair, which is probably the most complex chair I've done in my ATP career. We delivered Savannah's chair to her over the summer. She was very excited when we wheeled the chair into her room, and family loved the way that it turned out. Again, we used a lot of custom components on the chair. I think we may have set a record for the number of items on a DSWO. I got ribbed a couple times by our PCRs in the office because of the length of the item kit that came through. But there are a lot of different items that went on this chair, and when we put it together, it turned out very, very well. I'm really pleased with the way that this chair came together for her. But Savannah loved it. We got her in it, made all the adjustments. It fit her really well. One thing that we did is we switched from the head array system to an eye gaze, because the way that Savannah moved around, she just couldn't really drive that safely or functionally through her environment anymore. It also spent most of the time not on the chair because the family just felt like it was more of a hassle than what it was worth. So she's gone through a little bit of a learning curve there. The last time I spoke with Sherry, she was still kind of fine-tuning the way that she drove it, but she is functional in the house in that piece of equipment, which is, it's a start. And then as she gets more comfortable and gets more drive time in that chair, she'll only go on from there. But yeah, I think everybody from the first moment of going in and saying, hey, we need more time to make this right, all the way through the process. I've gone out to see her, I think, 4 times throughout this process. I've taken manufacturer reps with me to make sure that we get the equipment right. Our specialty technician, Mark, he and I spent about 2.5, almost 3 hours at delivery and fitting, just to make sure we got everything done and that family knew how to operate everything. So I think we went from a situation where they had a really poor experience somewhere else and didn't really feel like they were prioritized and just being given something, to really feeling like they were truly valued. And really that's all we can ask for. Everybody has done their job tremendously to get this thing from idea to a physical chair, and I'm just really, really happy with the way that it turned out. I know that the sales rep met with the therapist 2 or 3 times to make sure that all the specifications and justifications were all ironed out and that they had everything done, because we were using parts that traditionally would be used for somewhere else to be used. Like, for example, one thing that Savannah typically did was her right leg would bounce, and it had a tendency to come up close to her face, or she would kind of slide off the chair a little bit. We actually used a contoured headrest, so it had thicker padding and a swing away hinge hardware system, so it would come down and not clamp on the leg, but it would hover a couple of inches, so if she did raise that up, she was hitting some thick padding instead of a rigid support. So there were, like I said, a couple of meetings between the sales rep and the therapist to make sure all that stuff was ready to go. Again, the PCR, getting all that paperwork through. our review team, our purchasing team. I mean, there are so many moving parts and pieces in this chair that I was absolutely amazed when the chair came in, and I went to go make sure everything was put together with my technician prior to delivery, and we weren't missing a single part. So shout out to everybody involved in getting all that stuff approved, ordered, and received correctly, because I mean, it was just, if something was going to go wrong on an order, it was going to be on this chair, and it went through without any kind of a hitch, which I'm just absolutely amazed by. So thank you for everybody who helped make that chair. There you are. I see you smiling. Can you come this way?
Back up.